The world is a vampire.
Welcome once again, my fellow manipulators of digital fate. I'm Richie, this is Capricorn. Today's deck is another one from early access for Modern Horizons 3. This is a historic deck, and it was a submission from one of our patrons, METAFOOZi, also known as 𝐽𝒐𝒄𝒂💔. So shout out to Foozi for submitting this. It's a pretty crazy deck. This one's called Foozi Rage. The idea here is we're taking Emrakul, we're treating him like the rat that he is, sticking him in the cage, the collector's cage. We're trying to free cast all of the new best Eldrazi from Modern Horizons 3 using collector's cage shenanigans with a crazy deck that goes super wide, super quick, so that we can pop off with the cage as soon as possible. Now, I'm going to break down the whole deck, the combo, the whole thing. Before we get to that, make sure you like the video if you haven't already. It's you guys that are liking the videos every single time that are helping this channel to grow so quickly. Honestly, couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much to those that do it. I appreciate it so much. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button because I have a ton of deck techs on the way, a lot of crazy spoiler content, and some surprises lined up. Some pretty big news that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. So if you're interested at all, make sure you hit that subscribe button, make it happen, become a part of the community. It's going to be wild. And if you want to go the extra mile and join me live, I stream over on Twitch typically Monday through Friday. That's twitch.tv/quarantinecapricorn. Because if I'm alive and I'm breathing, I'm there and I'm streaming. Let's break down the deck. Alright, so this deck was submitted by METAFOOZi, aka 𝐽𝒐𝒄𝒂🔔. I will always call him that because I love him, and because that name will stick with me forever. But I digress. This was submitted by METAFOOZi, and the deck's kinda crazy. I do think there's room for it to be iterated on, but it's just gonna take a lot of time to figure out exactly the perfect cards for this brew. That being said, what we have here is still kind of insane, and we did some pretty crazy stuff. So let's go over the deck. First of all, we're trying to use Collector's Cage. 2 mana, enters the battlefield, Hideaway 5. We get to look at the top 5 cards of our library, exile 1 face down, and then put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And then when we pay 1 and tap this, we put a +1/+1 counter on target creature we control, and then if we control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you may play the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So the idea here is we're trying to go super wide with creatures so that we can very easily get to these 3 powers, and very quickly in the game, way earlier than is intended I think, just free cast something crazy that we hide away with the Collector's Cage. And those something crazies are usually Emrakul the World Anew, 12 mana for a 12/12 legendary Eldrazi. When you cast it, which if you cast it from the hideaway of the Collector's Cage, it does count as casting it. If you cast it, you gain control of all creatures target player controls. Insane. It has flying, protection from spells, protection from permanents that were cast this turn, and if it leaves the battlefield, you have to sacrifice all creatures you control. But let's be honest, you're winning the game before that happens. We've also got Ulamog the Defiler. When you cast it, target opponent exiles the top half of their library rounded up, which is kind of insane to begin with, but the rest of the card is what we're really looking forward here. We're really looking forward to. It's been a long early access, guys, and I am tired. The other abilities is what we're really looking to do. Ward, sacrifice 2 permanents, therefore it's really hard for them to get rid of this, especially if it's super early in the game because we cheated it out with Collector's Cage. And then Ulamog the Defiler enters the battlefield with a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the greatest mana value among cards in exile, and then has Annihilator X, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters on it. So it's really easy for this to enter the battlefield with a bunch of counters and get a huge Annihilator X going. And what's really cool is we can wait until the end of our opponent's turn to use the Collector's Cage ability to put a +1/+1 counter on something, effectively getting it into play when our opponent doesn't see it coming before they can deal with it, and then we immediately untap, attack, Annihilator X. They probably have to sack their whole board, and we probably win. seems like it's kind of nuts, to be completely honest. We've also got one copy of Portal to Phyrexia, because if we free cast this off the Collector's Cage, we get to make them sacrifice 3 creatures at a time when they probably only have about 3 creatures. And then every turn we can just bring our best creature back from the graveyard, really any graveyard, right? So if they cheat something out, have something super big, super crazy, super early, that we then make them sacrifice because of the portal, now we just take their stuff and we win with their stuff. And then we've also got one Kozilek, the Broken Reality. 9 mana for a 9/9 legendary Eldrazi. When you cast it, up to 2 target players each manifest 2 cards from their hands. And for each card manifested this way, you draw a card. Other colorless creatures you control get +3/+2. So, not only do you get 2 5/4s onto the battlefield and draw 2 cards off of that, but your opponent has to manifest 2 cards onto the battlefield, which means if they wanted to hold up removal to kill Kozilek and they only have 2 cards left, they can't. They have to be manifested onto the battlefield as this is cast, because it's a cast trigger, which means they never have the opportunity to use their removal on Kozilek before it enters the battlefield. And we draw 2 more cards, so we're drawing 4 cards, getting 2 5/4s, and basically forcing them to mind rot. Because let's be honest, the 2 creatures they have in play that are manifested aren't really going to do much for them. So it's basically like a free mind rot as well, before the thing ever hits the battlefield, before they ever get an opportunity to remove it, which is kind of insane. Now, in addition to the Collector's Cage, we're also running 3 copies of Rabble Rousing, just as kind of like a backup way to free cast some of those things, which can be really important. We don't want the deck to completely whiff if we don't get our Collector's Cages. So we hide away 5 when we play this. Whenever we attack with 1 or more creatures, we create that many 1/1 tokens, and then if we have at least 10 creatures, which is really easy for this deck, we get to free cast the thing under it. So another way to do the Collector's Cage thing, but obviously not as good, as fast as the Collector's Cage. It's just kind of a backup. Then, starting at the bottom of the curve, we've got 4 Ornithopters. Super easy to go wide so that we have enough creatures with different powers for the Collector's Cage. And that's kind of what most of the rest of this deck is all about. It's just getting wide with as many creatures as possible with different powers as quick as possible, so we can get this Collector's Cage online ASAP. We've got 3 Esper Sentinels, because we can draw cards whenever our opponents cast non-creature spells. We've got 4 Guide of Souls, because this card is just insane. It might be the best 1-drop in the game. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under our control, we gain a life and an energy, and when we attack, we can pay 3 energy to put a flying counter on one of our attacking creatures, put 2 +1/+1 counters on it, swing through from damage. It's just a lot of value. You'll have to see it to believe it. We've also got 4 Ocelot Pride, just another really good card to go wide with, and because it has Ascend, if we have 10 or more permanents, at the end of our turn, if we gain life, we make a 1/1 cat creature, but then if we have Ascend still, if we still have the City's Blessing, we will also make a copy of every token we've made that turn, so it helps us go even wider, even quicker, which is really nice. We've got 4 Path to Exile as removal. We want to make sure our removal is super cheap so that we can still vomit as much stuff out onto the board as quick as possible, so Path to Exile is perfect here. We've got 4 Avacyn's Pilgrim, because most of the deck is white, so being able to play something for green here that can then tap to generate our white mana just helps us go a lot wider, a lot quicker, while also contributing to our board state. Really good card. And then we've also got Swarm Shambler, because so much of the deck revolves around putting +1/+1 counters on things with Guide of Souls and Collector's Cage, that if we have Swarm Shambler in play, we can get a little bit of extra value off those counters. And, you know, if they try to target and kill those things, we can get extra creatures that keep our board wide like we need it to be. Moving on to the 2-drop slot, in addition to the Collector's Cage, we have 1 Philia Exuberant Shepherd, which is kind of nuts. 2/2 flash, whenever it attacks, you exile up to 1 other target non-land permanent. At the beginning of the next end step, you return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it entered under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. And the reason this is so good is after we play the thing for free that we hid away with Collector's Cage, or honestly even the Rabble Rousing, we can swing with Philia and basically flicker the Collector's Cage and get it to re-trigger and hide away something else so that we can get even more free casting, which can be kind of insane. In the 3-drop slot, we have 3 Sanguine Evangelist, 1 white and 2 for a 2/1 Vampire Cleric with Battle Cry. When it enters, we make a 1/1. When it dies, we make a 1/1. This is 2/3 of what we need to basically turn on the Collector's Cage, all in one card. And it gives us a little bit of extra value if they try to kill the thing. So being able to make sure we keep as many bodies on the battlefield as possible so that we have the most amount of chances to trigger the Collector's Cage is super, super important, especially with all the spot removal running around in this format. So Sanguine Evangelist here is great. And then if we are wide and we don't get one of our crazy hits off of Collector's Cage or the Rabble Rousing, the Battle Cry is going to help us just win the game through sheer aggression with all of our go wide creature strategies. So not only is it good for our primary strategy, it's also kind of a plan B win condition, which I really like about it. And that's the deck. We are playing 1 Ugin's Labyrinth because we could exile one of those big hits that we want to try to hit with the Collector's Cage to get a little bit of a mana ramp, which is really awesome. And then we're running 4 Temple Gardens, 4 Razorverge Thickets, 3 Brushlands, 3 Plains, 1 Monumental Henge, which if we're out of gas can find us a historic card, and 1 Eiganjo, Seat of the Empire. The deck did some absolutely ridiculous things. Huge thanks out to Foozi for submitting this one because we had a ton of fun in a couple of the games and it was just wild. But don't take my word for it, let's check out the games. Alright, let's keep this. We're going to start with the Thicket. Play the Pride. Another Esper Sentinel. Oof. Well, don't really have a choice. We need to play something. Which means he has to draw 2. It's rough. But we hit our Emrakul. So there's that. Come on, baby. We are so close. So close. Almost want to swing, but I'm not going to. I got a plan. Thought Monitor. Dude, this is gonna be wild. Are you ready for this? Dude, he's just going. He's just going off. He's just doing it. He's just doing his damn thing. I can't even. Oh god. Oh god. Can we just play 4 of those? Can we just play 4 of those? Oh. it's a good time. We will keep this. This looks like a good go wide hand. We definitely start with Guide of Souls, right? So we can get some value. I think this is the same opponent. Except we get to actually play this time, so... let's see what happens. Let's see what happens when we actually get to play. Oh, we got our 3 energy now, baby. Excuse me. The Sneasels. The Sneasels got me, boys. It's got 5 mana. Play Tyvar. We get to draw a card. Sick.
You've got this.
We are definitely going to kill that Tyvar. I can give 2 things flying. 2. Do we kill the Tyvar? I think we do. Oopsie. I forgot it only triggered once.
Who's next?
Man, misplays suck. I'm so used to getting multiple triggers from having multiple in play. I forgot. It's only going to trigger once if you have one, dummy.
Show them what you're made of.
Human soldier. Sack a dude, get some cards. Doesn't want to sack his War Master. Let's see. What do we pass to exile? The payoff or the ramp? Probably the ramp. Frustrating. Well, if he's got like Crater Hoof or whatever in his hand, it's gonna be rough. We're gonna be dead. If we take out the ramp, it's hard for him to get enough mana to do the thing. So I'm gonna go for the ramp, I think. It might be wrong. It's not definitely right. But I'm playing as if he has another payoff in his hand, which is very likely. Doesn't have reach, right? Alright. Let's kill Tyvar. Okay. Or kill the Jaspiel Sentinel, that's fine too. We'll end the turn. Man, could you imagine if our dude didn't die? The Guide of Souls. I'm such a dinghy. Okay, Leaf Crown Visionary. Gets rid of the Tyvar. Probably to get back the Priest. Oh no, the Priest is exiled. We might have gone wide enough. We might get there. Resolve all. He is definitely pretty wide, but he's not quite there yet. He's not quite there yet. Do we need the Evangelist down, or can we play another Esper Sentinel? I don't think he's playing many non-creatures. I think we just do this. But we can't swing, unfortunately. Chord of Calling. Draw a card. Guess maybe I should have played the Esper Sentinel. But I think Evangelist is going to be our key to victory. If we can Battle Cry buff up the team. We're so wide with these cats. He didn't spend the mana? He's got like 1,000,000 mana.
Let's see what this
That's kind of
exile
crazy.
can do. There's that second wind.
Maybe he just doesn't care because we're tapped out and he thinks he's just going to have enough mana to just win outright this turn. It could be. It's just a couple of Elvish Mystics off to the left there. Chord of Calling for 8. Yep, Craterhoof. But does he have enough creatures to actually win? We'll find out. I think we can block and kill one of the lords with first strike even after a Craterhoof. I'm not 100% sure. But if we can, that's huge. Just gets Voja. Decides not to get the Craterhoof, probably because he realized it wasn't going to be lethal. Okay. But not Death Touch, right? So we'll just block enough to not die. And that'll be it. So you block here. Fortunately, there's nothing small enough to kill with first strike, which kind of sucks. So 6 and 6 is 12, and 7 is 19, and 7 is 28. So if we block like that, then it's 14, 26 that we take. which I think is fine. So we'll just do it like that. We go to 3. And then we try to Alpha Strike for the win. He's only got 3 blockers, and we've got Battle Cry. We might be able to. I mean, he did just gain a bunch of life. Oh man, he just keeps going. He just plays out a whole new board of blockers. Well, no, because he has to tap his blocker to play a new thing, right? I mean, we just have to go for it, or we're getting rolled next turn, so it is what it is. We either get there, or we don't. It's gonna be close. He goes to 2. To 2. To 2. That's a whole lot of damage. Look at that. Look at that. Just negative 462. No big deal. Thanks so much for checking out my channel. I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my patrons over at Patreon. Without you guys, this channel would not be possible, so honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all of your contributions. If you haven't yet, like and subscribe. The more likes we get and the quicker we get them, the bigger this channel will grow and the faster it will grow. I'd love nothing more than this channel to become something very special for you guys, but it's entirely up to you how fast that happens. Also, if you'd like more deck techs, that's somewhere over there. And if you'd like to see what else the channel's been up to lately, that's somewhere up that way. Also, subscribe, circle below, do all the things.